This is going to be a brief walkthrough of my recent timber harvest that I had done in the fall of 2022. This is the bottom half, the southern part of my property, and this is north. The top of the screen is north. So there's a creek that runs this direction, and it actually meets a river right here. And the river is my border on the eastern side, as well as the southern side. So it kind of comes down this direction, and then it basically parallels this trail parallels it. It turns and makes a hard 90, and then swings out here to the west. And so when I had them come in and cut, I didn't want to cut everything. This was all pretty much mature canopy and mid-story canopy timber. Um, and with these edges, the movement was already sort of in this circular type motion. I mean, they'll cross the creek and they'll cross the river, but there was a lot of movement in this, like in a circular motion down in here. And so I wanted to keep that, but I wanted to make it a little more predictable. And so what I had them do was cut, and this is the western boundary right here. I had them cut 8 acres, and you can see this is the boundary of the cutover, the edge of the cutover, and I kind of just had them cut it in a way that I could keep some of this canopy and like I guess a dead zone around the cutover so that I could get in and out access wise without jumping bedded deer or deer that are feeding. So I only cut this 8 acres, and it's about 20 acres down here. This whole section's about 20 acres. And this trail, this yellow, is a an existing four-wheeler path that I cut in a few years back when I bought the property. And then you can see the different stand positions. This one in particular is one that I set up this year. I didn't actually hunt it. I was kind of waiting to have the perfect conditions, like a late season rifle hunt, but I never actually sat the stand. But you can see the rest of these; they were existing stands as I'm trying to hunt just the perimeter of the whole 20 acres. And so the reason I had them cut it this way is to just keep this edge, but provide a bunch of bedding and food out here in the middle. This is essentially an 8 acre sanctuary here. Um, and the first thing I did after they cut was I came in and created this logging trail. I took the logging trail and just cleared all the debris out of the way and turned it into a four-wheeler path. And then I seeded it. I sprayed it in the summer, and then I seeded it in the fall, or late summer and fall. And I had some brassicas come up, some turnips and radishes, as well as a little bit of clover and grains. So the reason, I mean, it was twofold. I wanted to be able to get into the cutover with my four wheeler, um, in case I needed to get to a deer or just to continue making improvements. So that was the reason why I cleared this all out and kept it as a usable path. And actually, I need to add a section here because I along the western side I cleared out and made it all the way up to this ditch, so I can access about 80% around the cutover. But again, I wanted to try to dictate the movement a little bit better. So that was part of the reason why um, I created this path around it with food, and these little kind of blobs that are sticking off this side and this side are essentially just little micro food plots. This one was to sort of try to bring them down in this direction so that I could hunt this stand. And then this one is just to give some additional food close to this other food plot, this horseshoe shaped food plot that I already have. Um, and you can see all these white lines are deer trails that I've cut in. And so they're coming from the cutover, they're paralleling, they're going around, so sort of like buck sneak trails going around, as well as this trail that's going around the outside. And so the whole point of this was to just try to congregate, well, to enhance the movement that already existed, this circular movement, but in a little bit more predictable way. So Obviously if there's a buck, if there's a wind coming from the west and there's a buck trying to scent check around that cutover and he takes this trail this way, ideally it will bring him, you know, down into one of these trails leading to the food plot where I've got multiple stands for different winds. So, this stand I can hunt with a south, southwest, west, or even a northwest wind, and it's all blowing back this direction. Especially if I was going to hunt it in the evening, because there's a bean field to the east that's like a destination food plot. So in the evening, my scent's blowing out here across the river. Any movement where they're coming from bedding to go to that food is going to be congregated in this area, and my scent will be blowing back across the property line. And same with this one. This one I can kind of hunt with a southwest, west, or northwest wind, and it's all blowing back out across the river. These two stands down here, I can hunt with any north wind. So a northwest wind, a north, and then a northeast wind would all be blowing back across the river down on this end. And so the movement, and I've got multiple cameras set up. I've noticed that they are kind of following this movement pattern that I tried to create. So to the west, over on this side, is my neighbor's property, and they had a bunch of land, a bunch of their timber cut. And so there's a lot of movement coming from the west, and there's no real hunting pressure over this way either. So a lot of that movement's coming from the cut over to my west, and it's just sort of continuing in this easterly direction towards the food over here. And then I have a lot of north-south movement on the property as well, and they come up and cross this creek. So this part of the trail is just kind of meandering through in that north-south or south to north direction and trying to bring them down. And again, congregate a lot of the movement in this area where I have multiple stand opportunities for the different winds. The other thing that I wanted to do is to get a lot of forbs and grasses growing out here, and I'm going to try to maintain a lot of early successional growth pockets. And it's going to be mostly mechanical because my property is bottomland, so it's going to be kind of hard to burn. You can see a lot of these ditches, like some of these bigger ones, especially here, here, here. So there's a lot of moisture. There's not going to be a lot of deciduous trees that are indicative of burning. The leaves just don't tend to burn well. Bottomland forest trees don't. They're just not conducive to burning. So there's going to be a lot of mechanical work with the weed eater and some spraying to try to keep the woody regeneration to a minimum. But this particular section here is a native warm season grass and pollinator mix that I got, and I'll show a picture. But there's a lot of good because I wanted to turn this section in particular into a decent sized bedding area of warm season grasses. And if you see in the shadow, these three big oaks, two willow oaks and a red oak that I had them leave standing, and I had another one. You can see right here it fell, unfortunately. But I wanted to just kind of keep this section as mostly grasses and let these oak trees, drop acorns, produce a lot of mast in the fall. So this will be a good bedding pocket once they get established. And these little gray pockets are just thermal bedding areas where I planted some conifers. So hopefully in a few years when they get tall enough, they'll create a nice thermal layer where the bucks can get in here, does can get in there and bed underneath them. Now I am going to let some of these areas regenerate with woody regeneration. So this section up here and some of this more in the middle, I'm going to let just regenerate naturally. So I should have a good combination of high stem count areas with the woody regeneration, grasses, and then pollinator, the pollinator mix. And I've got a lot of forbs coming up, just native forbs coming up. So this whole 8 acres is essentially a big sanctuary that I'm just leaving to the deer. And I'm just hunting, like I said, the perimeter. And so this movement should continue. Like there's just a lot of edge. If you notice that was kind of the main goal here. So you've got a creek, you've got a river, you've got standing timber, you've got cutover, and then you've got food all intermixed, and then as well as all these trails. So that kind of all come together and just create this attractiveness and movement that I'm trying to hunt. I'm going to continue just posting some videos about different features of the property and how I hunt it and kind of why I designed things the way I did. So stay tuned for those. And thanks for watching.